You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
You're listening to the Stable Management Podcast, where we discuss the barn management topics that you're passionate about.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stable Management Podcast. Our goal is to bring you a real-world look into the parts of horse farm management that you love or hate most, such as stall bedding, farm equipment, and pasture maintenance. During each bi-monthly episode, we'll be joined by an expert guest who shares their experiences with and perspectives on an important stable management topic. Do you enjoy the Stable Management Podcast? Want to learn even more about horse healthcare? Get your management and industry questions answered at Ask the Horse Live, a free audio event available exclusively from thehorse.com. Each Ask the Horse Live episode focuses on a specific equine healthcare topic chosen by our editors. We gather leading veterinarians, researchers, and industry experts to tackle your toughest questions. You can also hear on-demand episodes of Ask the Horse on thehorse.com or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Hailey Pfeffer, and my guest today is Laura Stevens with the Texas A&M Forest Service. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on.
So our topic today is one that I think a lot of us, including myself, I'm very guilty of this, think, this will have nothing to do with me. And it's something that I think we all need to remind ourselves to prepare for, because we're all guilty of thinking this will never happen to me, and then it does, and you don't know what to do. So let's talk about wildfire risk. And could you just tell us how it specifically affects horse farms and barns, and what makes our horse-type facilities uniquely vulnerable compared to other properties?
Yeah, so the nice part about, though, yes, we're all guilty of overlooking, I don't need to prepare for it. But the nice part about preparing for an emergency or an evacuation is it's all applicable. So if you prepare for an ice storm, if you prepare for a hurricane, if you prepare for a wildfire, you gather all the same information and material. So it is all the same. So that's the nice part. You prepare for one disaster, you're getting prepared for all of them. So that is the good part about all of this. But what makes a wildfire risk specifically unique to horses is the horses themselves. It's not like with a cattle ranch or other livestock that are more herd-based animals where you can easily load them into a trailer and you just go, or you just open the gates. Horses are unique. They have their own opinions, their own mindset, and they are probably more stubborn than any of the other livestock animals out there. So it is more of an effort to be able to prepare horses for an evacuation, specifically if it is a more time-sensitive evacuation like a wildfire. So it is more prep work, more preparedness, just because you are dealing with horses and they are all very opinionated and they are a mind of their own, and they all require their own unique challenges or differences. This could range from making sure, horses that aren't trailered as often, and you need to get them on a trailer and get them more comfortable. So that's going to take more time on your part to be able to prepare this horse, to get them ready to be trailered, to go in a moment's notice. Unlike cattle where you just open them, you load them on there in the chute, and you just close the gate and go.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something we even talk about with health emergencies, because it's always the horse that doesn't load well who has an emergency and needs to go to the clinic, and then you might waste hours even trying to get them on, and the situation becomes way more dire than it ever really needed to be. So definitely something that we all should be working on with our horses just for safety reasons.
And another aspect too is, as much as it is important to prepare the horse or the horses for an evacuation, it's also really important to prepare ourselves for it. So making sure that we have an emergency plan, an evacuation plan, that we practice it, and that we are calm. It goes back to that same mindset of practice makes perfect. It really does, because if you can do it second nature and it comes naturally to you, you are overall calmer preparing for something that you need to more time sensitive, hurry up and go. And if you're calm, the horse is more likely to be calm. If you're rushing around and you're panicking and you're nervous and you're frantic, that horse is going to feel that vibe and that energy. And it's just going to make something that should be simple as loading the horse into the trailer more stressful, more time consuming. So the calmer you are, the calmer the horses are going to be. So this is also, yes, it's important to prepare the animals, but it's also more important to prepare yourself.
Yeah, what a good tip, because I think horse people notoriously forget about themselves when it comes to things, and we get a little stressed out about our animals. So I don't think we can remind horse people of that enough.
No, and it's the same with if you have a pet, if you have kids, you need the best. It's better to be over prepared than under prepared. And it does require a lot of work to just sit down and be like, okay, what do I need to do first to make the plan, to make the kits, to get ready, put it down on paper. That's everyone's biggest thing is they're like, oh, I have it up here in my brain. We're like, no, we need to put it on paper, because what happens if you're not there and it is somebody else at the barn? Like, you're not there and you're trying to rush to get back there to help them to do this. Everybody needs to be prepared. So if it is a family situation, it's your horses, or if it is a barn and it is an employee-based situation, the best thing to do is making sure that everyone across the board knows the plan. Like, do monthly drills, monthly staff, like practicing, like we're loading, but making sure that you practice it with people missing out of the equation too. So if you have that one person who is like, I always drive the truck and the trailer and I know how to back it up and I know how to do this, make sure that person isn't there one day when you practice the plan, because you need to make sure that everybody knows how to drive the truck and the trailer or hook the trailer up or knows how to load all the horses. So you have to make sure that, because again, it is, you never hope you need this plan, but you always want to be prepared for if you do need this plan. So making sure that even if you're the best person to load this horse, well, you need to make sure that somebody else is also with you when you are loading this horse. So that horse is comfortable with somebody else as well if you're not there. So it's more so with the people than it is with the animals. So making sure everybody is on board, everybody knows the plan. And then the biggest thing, because we live in a technology age and we all love our phones, but having an accessible paper copy of this plan somewhere. So yes, digital, always have a digital copy. It can live in the cloud, like all of the important stuff. So evacuation, plan. So like where you're going, like which shelter to go to or which route you're going to take. Yes, have it down on paper, but also have it digitally too. But making sure you have vaccination records, digital copies, printed out copies, health certificates, digital printed, and have it all accessible in a binder that everybody knows where it is. Because as much as we just operate everything on our phones, what happens in an emergency? You break your phone. Then you're compounding the situation. So making sure you always have that default to fall back on, a paper copy, multiple paper copies. We live in a digital age, but I think everyone has more paper copies than digital copies for everything. But also, just one of those things, make sure everyone knows. If you're bringing on a new employee, make sure they have the plan. They know the plan. You practice the plan. They're familiar with the plan. Another big thing too, especially with facilities, and this is the prep work and the preparedness, is let's reach out to our local fire departments. That is one of the best things that you can do as a horse owner, whether it's your personal barn or it's a facility. Reach out to the local responders. These are the people that are coming to your property. So let's get them. The first time they come to your property shouldn't be the first time that there's an emergency. Get them out beforehand. Give them a copy of your plan. Show them where this is this gate. This is this access road. Here are these combinations. Here are these codes. Like, here's where this water tank is. You can draft from here. Here's where the spigots are. Here's an underground septic tank or something. Get them out there, let them see what your property is like, where your stuff is before they come out in an emergency situation, because they're practicing, they're training, they're preparing. Also, let them come to your place so that way you know where it is, what they're doing, accessibility to your property. This is one thing that most people don't think about. Making sure that you have your 911 address posted at your driveway. You don't necessarily have to put your name on your gate or your entrance location, but make sure the 911 address is posted. Make sure it's visible for responders to see from both directions of the road. Also making sure that your driveway or access into your property is wide enough. So making sure that it's at least 13 feet wide, and then at least clearance 13 and a half to 14 feet in clearance. So that is whether you have an opening, a gate, a nice archway, something, but if the equipment can't get in there, they're not going to help you, because no one wants to cut down a fence or no one wants to cut barbed wire. They want to take the path of least resistance, which is your driveway. And if they can't get in there because your gate's too low, your little arch gate is too low for them, they're not going to get in. And then if they're like, oh, but there's another gate down here that doesn't have a vertical impact structure, that's more time away that they're taking from the emergency. So making sure that they can get in, making sure they know where to go. And that's for them. It helps you. It helps them. They're already ramped up, stressed out, running on adrenaline. You're stressed out, ramped up. Do it when everybody's calm. That's the key with all of this.
Yeah, definitely. I think I only know of like one farm that I've worked at or kept my horses at that's actually worked with the local responders before an emergency has happened. And now that you say that, it makes perfect sense. Like everybody could be prepared when they're calm and can make rational decisions. But it's just not something that we ever really think about, I guess.
Yeah, it's so hard when you're like, you think about it like, I need to do this, but then we talk about it, but we never actually do it until a lot of people are not proactive. They're reactive to an emergency situation. And then you may forget something. So it is best especially with emergencies and evacuations, to be proactive, plan ahead, prepare ahead. And then again, reach out to the local responders. Because if they're prepared, they're more likely to be able to save your field, your pasture, your barn, your home, whatever outbuildings, if they can get there and know what they're going to and what to expect, versus for them to get the situational awareness. If they had a hard time pulling into your location, they couldn't find it, they couldn't figure out what gate it is, it wasn't numbered, that's time away from them protecting your property, your structure, your facility from a wildfire that is potentially coming. So you want to reduce that time for them, because they're still needing to assess the situation. So if you can eliminate that potential time barrier for them, that's ultimately the best situation. And that only happens when everyone's calm. There's no emergencies, because that's that pre-planning and you know what's happening.
Do you enjoy the Stable Management Podcast? Want to learn even more about horse healthcare? Get your management and industry questions answered at Ask the Horse Live, a free audio event available exclusively from thehorse.com. Each Ask the Horse Live episode focuses on a specific equine healthcare topic chosen by our editors. We gather leading veterinarians, researchers, and industry experts to tackle your toughest questions. You can also hear on-demand episodes of Ask the Horse on thehorse.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Are there any steps that our horse owners or barn managers owners can take to reduce the wildfire risk around that like barn paddock turnout area? I know that a lot of us don't really think about what kind of greenery we have kind of around that outer area. We're more so thinking about what's immediately next to the barn or paddocks. But I imagine that must be really important when it comes to wildfire preparedness.
Absolutely. So you'll hear the term more so with homes. You'll hear like the structured ignition zone, and you'll hear zone 1, 2, and 3. So it looks at your structure itself, protecting that, and then 5 feet out, 5 to 30 feet out, and then 30 to 100 feet out in your zones. So the biggest focus for any facilities manager, homeowner, your barn situation is the structure itself. So best to have a non-flammable material. That's always not the case. Most of our barns are all wooden, but it is making sure that your wood is in proper repair. So if there's no rot, or making sure openings are this burnable materials not right next to it. And then you're looking at the ground. So the ground around it is also vitally important. So dirt doesn't burn. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So dirt and non-flammable material doesn't burn. So making sure that there is a border or a buffer from your wooden structure or your flammable material. So whether it is crushed granite, dirt, gravel, pavement, concrete, something around that, because that's not going to burn, and that will stop a wildfire coming in or lessen the impact from that. Also, too, if that's not possible, grass, and you have grass around your facilities, whether it is the barn, an outbuilding, making sure it's watered. So that lean, mean, green situation, so it's watered and it's maintained. So making sure that it's mowed. Taller grass burns quicker than shorter grass on that one, in the sense that the taller grass, that is more fuel, that is more fire that will be around for a longer time. Shorter grass, it goes and it's just quick, and that's it, and it moves really quickly. Taller grasses generally will put off more embers. So embers are going to be the little pieces of burning material that is going to be ahead of a wildfire or a flame front. Those are going to be those little pieces, and most of what we see in home losses or structure damage is not from that wall of fire coming in. It's going to be from those little burning pieces of ember that are ahead of the fire. And those are propelled by wind. They land in the bed of dried vegetation, or they land in a hay pile, or they land in shavings, and then they smolder, and then they catch whatever is on fire, and then you have a bigger issue. With homes, a lot of those ember pieces will get sucked up into the attics through openings or roof vents, and then you'll lose the structure from the inside out. So these are things that are more so like you got to look for the little things. So yes, if you have a metal building, you can still lose a metal building to a wildfire. And it's most likely probably going to be from heat from the flames. And that could be because you have your wood pile stacked right up against your metal building, or you have all your hay that is exposed stacked right up against your metal building. So those could be challenges on that one. And yes, these are a lot of things that everything costs money. You're like, oh, well, I'm going to fireproof my building and my facilities. Not everything costs money. Sometimes it's just a little sweat equity. So it's making sure, that wood pile, it's not right up against your building. Maybe move it away 30 feet. So restacking, repositioning, maybe spend a little extra time instead of going 3 weeks without mowing your grass or your hay. Maybe you do it a little bit on quicker intervals, so there's less flammable material around. So a lot of times money is good. We would all like more money. Money can change things, but a lot of times sweat equity is the best wildfire prevention technique for facilities. It's sweat equity, it's making some changes. And a lot of times too, it's just things that you wouldn't think of. So making sure like, hey, we scraped out all of the used bedding and we just piled it up. Well, and it's right on the other side of the barn. Maybe don't put it right on the other side of the barn. Maybe move it away from the barn, 30 feet away. That's a better situation for, in terms of a wildfire preparedness aspect and a defense against a wildfire.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's such good information. Unfortunately, we're already coming to the end of our time. So I have one more question for you, and I think this is going to be a difficult one. I'm sorry, but it's if there's one key lesson that you hope people would take away from a real wildfire event, what would you hope that our horse owners and barn managers would be able to apply to their facilities right now?
The key thing that you can do is to make your kit. So preparedness, bring all of your kits with you, all of your information, have it physical and digital copy, and then making sure that you practice your plan. The calmer you are in a situation where you need to evacuate quickly, if you are prepared, if you are calm about it, you are more likely to be able to get your horses on the trailer to be evacuated because you are calm, they are calm. It is more likely to happen than if you are stressed out and panicking. They're going to feel that and they're going to be stressed out and panicking, and you're going to end up in a situation where you have to make a tough decision. It is still a very big deal, and it is one of those situations you hope you never have to use your plan, but it's always better to be over prepared for it. So making sure you are planning and practicing it and you know what to do in the situations, and also too making sure you're aware. So signing up for emergency notifications, listening to your local officials, and just again, a lot of times it is just be aware of the weather. Fire weather can be, it's not just, it's hot, dry, windy conditions. A lot of times fires start with lightning strikes. Just being aware of what's going on. Turn everybody into weather watchers so that way you're prepared and you know. Because again, if they're starting to talk about it's really dry, it's really hot, it's really windy, you can start to be like, this is something I need to be more aware of. This is something I need to know. And getting prepared. Hey, we're going to do a drill. We're going to practice. We're going to practice our preparedness so that way it is more familiar. It's one of those things. You did fire drills in school. Do an evacuation drill with your facilities, with everybody as well.
Yeah, I think the weather tip is so important. I should know this. It makes complete sense logically, but I never even thought about lightning strikes being a risk. I know we worry about turning our horses out at night when it's storming and them getting struck by lightning, but I don't know if I've ever really heard anybody talk about a fire starting that way.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 wildfires are human caused. That other 1% is going to be natural, which is lightning caused wildfires. Lightning, especially in areas when you see storms moving through, there is always that risk of thunderstorms, lightning strikes that could start a wildfire, especially in really those summer storms that you get, and you're very concerned about turning your horses out. It's a summer storm, but if the grass is really dry, there is that risk of lightning as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening. Please remember to like this podcast, subscribe, leave a review, and recommend the Stable Management Podcast to a friend.